Hello and welcome back to my channel. This is Jessica Squirrel, and today I am going to show you how I made this My Favorite Things card for the My Favorite Things Color Challenge number 168. The stamp set I used is Lucky Dog from My Favorite Things. I used the paw prints, one of the sentiments, and the little dog face. To start, I grab 3 of my Nuvo inks in pink sherbet, lotus flower, and dried oregano. Using my light pink and my darker pink and the largest paw print from that stamp set, I am going to randomly stamp across the panel in both of those colors. I absolutely love doing the color challenges, not only because it challenges me to look at my stamps differently, but it also helps me come up with creative ways to use things. And it's usually color combinations that I wouldn't think of, like this light pink, medium pink, and a green color. I would never put those colors together. But in the end, I thought it turned out pretty cute. Next, I take the small paw print from that stamp set, and I'm going to stamp it across the panel as well, randomly, in my green ink. So after I started stamping these green paw prints, I really wasn't sure if this was going to work. I wasn't sure that I was going to like it. I wasn't sure how well it was going to come together. So I knew that there was a chance I might have to redo it, but I continued with this particular design just to see what I would get in the end, and I was pleasantly surprised. So I pulled out my little scrap of Neenah Classic Crest Solar White paper, and I am stamping the little puppy face with Copic Friendly ink. I am going to be coloring the puppy in E23, E25, and E29. This will make up the brown color that is part of the color challenge. Something I realized shortly after I started doing color challenges, things look better when you don't have an equal amount of all of the colors. So like this one, it has the light pink, the darker pink, the green, and the brown. The brown has the least, the green has a little bit more than that, and then the lighter pink and the darker pink are closer to even. If I tried to make each color have an equal amount of space in the card, it would not be as cute. So that's my little tip for you today. When you are doing colors, like a color challenge, and you have 3 or 4, you do not want them to be equally represented in your card. It doesn't usually turn out very well. There may be exceptions to this rule, but for my cards, personally, I have found that it just works better if they don't all have an equal representation on my card. If you've watched any of my previous videos, you'll know that I tend to color lightest to darkest. So I lay down my lightest color first, I go in with my medium color to map out my shadows, and then I go in with my darkest color to deepen the shadows, and then I go back over with my midtone, and then I go back over the whole thing to blend it out more with my lightest color. In this particular one, I darkened around the eyes a little bit, and before I blend it out, it looks kind of scary, but it kind of softens after I blend it out. I usually darken around the eyes of my critters to kind of separate the snout from the rest of the face. Alright, for the light color of the face, I'm going to use C0, C1, and C3. I want it to stay white, or mostly white, but it does need shadows. I couldn't leave it that flat, so I try to keep my grays fairly light. And you'll see where I put the shadows right above the nose. I lined it up with the shadows I put around the eyes. Again, that's just something I prefer to do to kind of separate the nose from the rest of the face, since the nose does stick out quite a bit. When I color the nose, I go a dark gray. I don't choose to use black because it will look too flat. So to start with, I use my C5 marker. I'm then going to go in with C8 and then even C9 and then blend all that back out. Something I didn't do that I had thought about doing and then I guess just forgot because my toddler was harassing me is add a white highlight on the nose with a white gel pen. What I did do though is add my black glaze pen to the eyes. This just helps bring them out a little bit more. Now with this glaze pen, you do need to let it set for a few minutes to dry because it will smudge very easily. Next, I'm trimming my stamped image away and setting it to the side so it can fully dry. I'm going to cut out a heart from this paper, but I want to blend the light pink ink and the darker pink ink over it first. I don't know that I necessarily recommend trying to ink blend with this very light ink. It was difficult. It took me quite a while, and I know the video is sped up a lot so it doesn't look like it, but it did. It took me quite a while to get the color that I actually got. And there were several times during this whole process where I contemplated digging through my colored cardstocks to see if I had one that was an acceptable shade. Since I had already started this though, I just decided to finish it and see how it would go. I tend to do this a lot. I start with something and then I question myself on my decision and I just continue with it and see how it goes. Sometimes it turns out really well and sometimes I waste my time and have to start over. Alright, so the bottom of this ink blend is going to be the darker pink of the two pinks. And this will just give it a subtle color shift. As you can see, it's very light. I was checking there to make sure that it mostly matched the colors that I was going for. And then I cut it out and I continued to ink blend around just a little bit because I wanted it just a smidge darker. At this point, my puppy face had dried enough so I could cut it out. And you can see here, it is starting to come together. The colors don't look too bad. For the main part of my sentiment, I'm using this Thinking of You die from Simon Says Stamp. And I originally intended on using the darker of the two inks to ink blend over this paper, or the white paper I should say, but I opted out of that and just decided to go for colored cardstock, and I'm glad I did. I ended up using the same cardstock to create the panel that will go behind the puppy dog paws, which means if I had ink blended that Thinking of You sentiment, I would have had to ink blend at least the edges of an A2 size card base, and I just didn't want to have to do that. For the rest of my sentiment, I'm going to heat emboss it on this heart using white embossing powder. The sentiment reads, "Just because I care." So the whole card will read, "Thinking of you, just because I care." Here, I actually put the heart and the dog back on the card front to make sure that I get my sentiment stamped in the correct place. If you are interested in any of the items that I use in this card, all of them will be linked in the description box below. Off camera, I did cut out that 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 rectangle from that pink cardstock. You guys have heard me say it before if you've watched previous videos. I like liquid glue to attach my panels onto each other, especially when there has to be a border left around them. I am really bad at placing them straight on the first go. And if I can't move them, then my whole card's a little off. And I don't really want to have to spend that much time just to scrap something or have a card I'm not satisfied with at the end. Gluing the heart down, I'm just going to glue it straight to the panel with liquid glue. I'm then going to pop my little puppy face up with some thin foam adhesive. This is the Big Mama foam tape from Simon Says Stamps website. It lasts me forever. It's not the cheapest thing, and the backing's a little bit irritating to pull off, but I actually do quite like this particular adhesive. As you can see, I'm having to use my pokey tool to get the back off. So, a little bit annoying, but totally worth it. It lasts a while. It's a good thickness if you don't want too much bulk. Here I am putting the liquid glue on a scrap of paper, and I am then dabbing my sentiment, because it's so skinny, I'm dabbing it in the glue. And I do this so that I don't have glue leaking out all over the edges and making my card a mess. Something else I could have done if I had thought about it is use a double-sided adhesive sheet and covered the back of my cardstock with it, and then cut out my sentiment, and then the adhesive would already be on the back of it. But like usual, I don't usually think about this stuff until later, after I've already started to adhere my sentiments down. And this works just as well. It's just you're risking getting glue all over your hands. Anyway, thank you guys for watching, and I hope you enjoyed today's video. I'll be back soon. Bye!